Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and dear visitors. Healing lies within us. So that was the first words of the gray-haired Asian man whilst he was introducing me over lunch. It was exactly 5 years ago, over a cold December weekend, and me and my wife, we were attending a 2-day personal development symposium, and our daughter was also with us, so therefore we were on shifts. And that was my shift on the first day over lunch, and I wanted to give some proper food for our daughter, and we had our way into the restaurant, which was packed. And the only place that we were able to find was on the table of this Asian man, who looked into my eyes, introducing himself, and said, "Healing lies within us." So that was a moment where I was fully engaged in it. I was suddenly so interested, and we kept our chat onwards. And that moment made a big change in my life afterwards. Up until then, I was mediocre or ordinary in terms of how I see the healing or how I was curing myself whenever I get sick. For instance, when I had a headache, or when I had a runny nose, or when I had a sore throat, I was always using the medicine, which was easy. And when I had a sore throat, almost without exception, it always went worse, and I had to use antibiotics to get over it. And when I had a headache, it was easy to get to the pills. This Asian man was apparently from Kyrgyzstan. He was living in Istanbul. He was running a self-healing course with his wife across Turkey. And the program was named after the name of the founder of the discipline, Norbekov. 30 or so years ago, at the time of the Soviet Republic, Mirza Karim Norbekov, he discovered an extraordinary case of healing. Now I would like to share with you his story. This is about an orphanage that was established by the Lake Baikal. And this orphanage accepts kids, obviously who are orphans, but at the same time, who had the diabetics. So one of the objectives was to cure this disease. But what is interesting with this orphanage, it turned out to be the only orphanage in the Soviet Union that all the kids were able to get recovered from this diabetics. And the Soviets were so interested about that, so they would like to learn more about it. And they sent groups of researchers onto this site. And these researchers examined the composition of the air to the water of the lake, from the food to the medicine that was used for these kids. They couldn't find anything. And eventually, Mirza Karim Norbekov, who was a medical doctor and who was very interested in the ancient medical practices and medicine, he made his way through the last group of researchers. After 1 month, they were almost to go back empty-handed. And over an afternoon, a sunny, warm afternoon, he noticed something in the distance. There were a bunch of kids playing, but they were playing in a bathtub, splashing water with their feet, dancing and singing some playful sounds. He was very curious. He approached, he wanted to hear, and he wanted to see what was happening. And all of a sudden, his jaws dropped, because the kids were singing a song saying, "My sugar gets off my body, melts in water, and washed away." So that was the moment that he realized the truth about this inner healing. And what happened? The teachers, when the orphans arrived at the orphanage, told the kids that they were sick because they had high sugar in their blood, and if they only can recover, then they would have new families. And guess what? These kids were carving for love and care. And the only way that they can get to that was to recover. So with this naive and fully trusted belief of imaginary, they were able to cure themselves. And from then on, Norbekov produced or developed his program for the healing. Now I would like to share my story on how I know healing lies within us. After I met this Asian guy on that day, 5 years ago, I attended actually his course for self-healing, which lasted 10 days. Then the whole program was 3 weeks. And after the program, I left using any medicine. Since then, I didn't have any pharyngitis. And since then, I didn't use any painkillers for headache. But 2 years later, I was in Dubai on a business trip. My family was also with me. And all of a sudden, I had a serious pain on my neck, which went to my shoulder and down to my left arm. It lasted a couple of days until we get back. And I remember it was a Friday. My wife insisted me going to the doctor. At least he will write you some gel and will give you advice. So we were in front of the professor, which lasted actually longer than a normal examination. And eventually, I'm sitting in front of him. He's looking into my eyes, and he said, "You need immediate surgery, if not today, but tomorrow, because you have a serious neck hernia, and you're losing your arm." So that was in no place that I would have expected. I was shocked. Then the next 2 days, it took me to find a no-butcher operator doctor to give me some advice, a candid advice. But the two professors that I saw, both literally told me the same thing. I had to go immediate surgery. Then in the night when I went to bed, it was a tough conversation with myself. I had to choose in between surgery and non-surgery. And it was not because of the fear of the surgery or because of the fear of losing my arm. It was more of the fear of losing my confidence in my healing power and in myself. So when I woke up, I decided not to go for surgery. It took me actually 3 weeks to bring back my healing, and I fully recovered from the neck hernia. And it became a case study for the doctors. And when I went to see the doctor post-examination, he told me, "You know what? You had a miracle. You know it, right? Well, you may call it anything. You may call it also a miracle. But one thing that I know, the healing lies within us." Thank you.